How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Sports Talk Podcast with Alec Pecano. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. It'd be much appreciated. And now let's get to the video. Today's video is going to be on my starting pitcher preview for the 2024 fantasy baseball season, with my top 65 starting pitchers, as well as the guys that just missed out on the top 65. Let's get started here because it's going to be a long one. So here is the guys that just missed out on the top 65. At number 70, we got Zach Littell from the Rays. He is a guy I think he's in for a really good 2020, but he transitioned from the bullpen to being a starting pitcher last year. So I need to see from Littell, I need to see at least one full season of him being a starting pitcher. At number 69, I've got Clark Schmidt from the Yankees. This is another one. He was kind of a tweener going into last year, and then the Yankees moved him into the rotation. He's another one that I need to see steady improvement from, and I need to see more improvement from him. And these rankings, I will be updating them every week during the season, but when the season starts. But Clark Schmidt, he's at 69 for that, number 69 for that reason. At 68, we've got Brady Singer. And this one, I'm going to explain a little bit why Brady Singer's at 68 and not higher. I like what I saw at the end of the last season for Brady Singer, and I know y'all are going to disagree with me on my rankings. Tell me about it down in the comments down below. Back to what I was saying. So Brady Singer, he started off last year really rocky. He struggled a little bit. Then as the season went on, he got better. But I still need to see more from Mr. Singer. But if he improves and gets better, he will be in the top 65. Because like I said, these rankings get updated when the season starts every week. And you will see new top 65 starting pitchers every week during the season. At number 67, Garrett Whitlock, Boston Red Sox. And if you noticed, 2 out of the 4 guys I've talked to, now 3 out of the 4 guys I've talked about, Littell, Clark Schmidt, and Whitlock, they all started last year as relievers. Whitlock is the only difference. He kind of moved between the bullpen and the rotation for Boston. But I think if he's a permanent full-time starting pitcher, that he breakout season. And I do like Garrett Whitlock a whole lot, but I need to see more from him. Tristan at number 66, Tristan McKenzie. Tristan McKenzie's another one. My issue with him is walks. He had too many walks. He walked on average 3 or 4 batters a game. And if I'm going to put somebody in the top 65, they can't walk that many guys. And my sleeper for this portion is Trevor Rogers, Miami Marlins. I think Trevor Rogers is due for a huge year this year in fantasy baseball. And my bust in this portion is Patrick Sandoval, Los Angeles Angels. Now, Sandoval had a really good year last year, but I don't think he's going to live up to where he's getting drafted this year. And before I get into the top 65, let me tell you about my Patreon. My Patreon, you get all this content plus more. You get these episodes earlier than everything else. You get all my rankings for football, baseball, basketball. You get all that before everybody else, plus more. If you join the Patreon, we are trying to get the Patreon up to 20 people. The link to my Patreon is down in the comment section down below. It's the pinned comment. And it will also be pinned in the description of the video, in the description down below after this video is done. But now let's get to my top 65. At number 65, I have Kyle Harrison of the San Francisco Giants. Now, I know what y'all are probably going to say. Why is Kyle Harrison even being talked about as a top 65 starting pitcher going into the 2024 season? I'm going to say this. Purely, this is speculation based for him being in the top 65. I think he's going to have a really good season. And I think the Giants are going to need him to step up because they've lost a couple pitchers in free agency. Alex Cobb, Alex Wood. They've lost those two pitchers, and now they're looking for somebody to step up. And I believe it can be Kyle Harrison. At number 64 is the first of many Reds starting pitchers that you will see on this list. And that would be Graham Ashcraft. I like how Ashcraft finished last year. He did struggle. His one knock was he struggled with walks. If he walked a lot less people, then we wouldn't be having the issue of him walking and giving up walks. So that's why Ashcraft is at number 64. Number 63, Josiah Gray, Washington Nationals. This is probably only two pitchers from the Nationals you will see on the list. You may see Mackenzie Gore later on in the list, but Josiah Gray, I think he has all the potential in the world to be a top 30 starting pitcher in fantasy baseball this year. But the one issue is, like most of the guys on the list, walks. He does have a tendency to walk 3 or 4 batters in a row, and that hurts his command. I think if he could sharpen that out and get his strikeout rate up a little more, he will be a top 50 starting pitcher. At number 61, Gavin Williams, Cleveland Guardians. Now, Gavin Williams came up last year toward the middle of the year, and he pitched really well for Cleveland. Now, there's some people that have him higher in their rankings. I have him at 61 for the sole purpose of he's still young, but I think he can be a really good starting pitcher. At number 60, Kyle Gibson, St. Louis Cardinals. Kyle Gibson's another one that I think could be really good this year. I think this is a bounce back spot for Kyle Gibson. Because at the end of last year, before I started doing YouTube, when I was doing YouTube, before I started doing rankings, I did my own mock rankings and I had Kyle Gibson at right at the top 65, but I decided to put him inside the top 60 because I feel like he's due for a breakout season, a bounce back year this year. My sleepers for this portion are Jordan Wicks, Chicago Cubs. I think Wicks is going to win that 5th starting spot in Chicago, and Shane Boss, Tampa Bay Rays. Now, with Boss, I think he's going to be a sleeper, but if you draft him, you're going to have to wait till the second half. And I would be willing to do that if you have an IR spot. If you do, draft Shane Boss and put him in there, and he can help you in the second half. My bust for this portion of the rankings are John Means from the Baltimore Orioles. And here's my explanation as to why Means is a bust. He is coming off of Tommy John surgery, and it usually takes a guy a whole season to fully return to form and come back and be his normal 30 to 35, maybe 40 start year starting pitcher. And I think that's what you're going to get with Means. And then Frankie Montas, this one's kind of self-explanatory why he's a bust for where he's going to get drafted. Injuries. I would steer clear, if you can, at all cost, of Frankie Montas because of injuries. At number 59, I've got Andrew Abbott, Cincinnati Reds. Now, Abbott's another guy. Came up middle of last year, and I thought the Reds were going to send him down after a couple so he could get regular, everyday 5th start. But he stuck around, and he pitched admirably well. He did have a couple weeks where he struggled a little bit, but that's going to be any young pitcher is going to go through the struggles. But I like this portion. This is where I like Abbott at number 59. At 58, Carlos Rodon. Now, I was a little wary. I was going to switch him and Sean Manaea and put Rodon in the bust category because, like Montas, who I talked about in the last portion of the rankings, Rodon has the same issue. Can he stay healthy a whole season? I'm betting on the fact that he can, but does he is a question. I seem to think that maybe he can, but you just never know. At number 57, John Gray, Texas Rangers. John Gray is a guy that if you're stuck, if you wait to take starting pitching, I would feel really good taking John Gray and have him being your 2 or 3 guy in your starting rotation on your fantasy baseball team. But I like how he was on the World Series champions last year. Congratulations, Texas Rangers, by the way. Not trying to... never mind. I'm just going to say congratulations, Texas Rangers. But I like John Gray a lot. I think he's going to have a wonderful season this year. At number 56, Griffin Canning, Los Angeles Angels. Canning is another guy that he was a 20 between the minors and big leagues for a little bit last year. I like how Griffin can't. I like his projectables going into this season. Griffin Canning. I think Griffin Canning can be a really good starting pitcher for you in fantasy baseball this year. At number 55 is another guy that was a rookie last year, Brian Wu. One of my favorite names to say in all of Major League Baseball. Brian Wu. He's I really don't know where to put him. I put him here because I feel like he's going to have a breakout sophomore season in the MLB. And he did have minor injuries during last year, but I feel like he's due for a breakout in his second year. At number 54, Nick Lodolo, Cincinnati Reds. Now, with Lodolo, the one problem I have is can he stay healthy for the whole season? If he can stay healthy the whole year, I think he's another guy that is due for just a massive, massive season. Massive. Like, very much massive. I think he can do. I think he could have a big season if he stays healthy. At number 53, I mentioned when I was talking about Josiah Gray, his teammate, I mentioned Mackenzie Gore. You might see him in the rankings later on, and you do, at number 53. I really like what I saw to end last season from Mackenzie Gore, and I feel like he's going to have a big 2024 season. At number 52, Braxton Garrett, Miami Marlins. Now, I did tell you guys that there's going to be some guys going into 2024 that their ranking was going to be bumped up because I thought they finished last season really well, and some guys that moved down because they struggled at the end of last season. Braxton Garrett's one of the guys that I bumped up because I felt like he finished off 2023 really well. At number 51, Michael King. Now, at the start of last season, Michael King was pitching out of the bullpen for the Yankees. And now, as the season went on, they moved him into the rotation. I think he pitched really well for the Yankees. But that's just me. I do like him at number 51. I think he's in for a really good season. At number 50 is another young pitcher that was a rookie last year, Guardians pitcher Tanner Bybee. Tanner Bybee is another guy that I think he's due for, I wouldn't necessarily say a huge season, but I think he's due for a bump up in his ERA and his strikeouts. I think he's due for a big 2024. And my sleeper in this section is Yuri Perez, Miami Marlins. And Perez, if he didn't get hurt at the end of last year, I think he might have won Rookie of the Year for pitching, for the pitchers, when I did my awards. But he didn't. It was Ellie De La Cruz that won Rookie of the Year for me. And then the thing I like about Perez is his composure on the mound. He shows a lot of good composure. And then my bust in this portion of the rankings is Sean Manaea, New York Mets. I've said this about a couple other pitchers, but Mania, he struggled with walks. He struggled with walks a lot, and that's the one thing that scares me about a pitcher, is if they walk a lot of guys, that tends to end their slowly. So that's what scared me about him last year. 49 through 40. At number 49, Lance Lynn, St. Louis Cardinals. Another Cardinals pitcher on here. Kyle Gibson earlier, and now Mr. Lance Lynn. With Lance Lynn, the one thing I'm worried about is his walks. Because if you saw when he was with Chicago with the White Sox last year, it was awful how many guys he walked. You couldn't even feel safe starting him when he was with the White Sox in your fantasy baseball lineup. It got a little bit better when he went to the Dodgers at the trade deadline, but that's the one thing that scares me. If Len can turn that around, I can see him vaulting up the rankings throughout the year. At number 48, Bryce Miller, Seattle Mariners. Bryce Miller was another kid that came up at the end of last year, toward the middle of last year for Seattle. He probably wasn't even supposed to be up till this year. But I actually really like Bryce Miller going into 2024. I think if you could get him in like the 9th or 10th round of your draft, I would take him and I would feel really good about it. At number 47, Shota Uamunga, Chicago Cubs. Cubs fans, if I botched his name, please let me know. I think I probably said it wrong. But this guy's going to be a rookie this year for the Cubs. But the reason I've watched his highlights from when he pitched over in Japan, he's really good. And I can see him having a really good rookie year and helping the Cubs improve. At number 46, Bobby Miller, Los Angeles Dodgers. Bobby Miller's another guy. If you look at his MLB ETA, he was not supposed to be up till 2024. But the Dodgers didn't really have a choice last year. They called him up, and he pitched really well. I like Bobby Miller going into 2024. He's another guy I would feel comfortable with taking as my third starting pitcher in fantasy baseball. At number 45, oh, I see Lance Lynn on there twice. That's my fault. I meant to fix it. So we're gonna skip Lance Lynn again because he's under twice. At 44 is Dane Dunning with the Texas Rangers. And again, I apologize for that little hiccup on my rankings, but I'm gonna fix it right now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hold up. We are going to get the correct. We're doing this on the fly, so give me 2 seconds. We're at 49 through 40. So back to 45. Number 45 is Dre Jameson, Arizona Diamondbacks. Yes, I made that change on the fly. So that is the updated. I like Dre Jameson better as a starting pitcher. I know the Diamondbacks used him out of the bullpen last year, but I think if they give him the right amount of time, I think he could be a good starting pitcher for Arizona. Back to Dane Dunning now at number 44. I like Dane Dunning a lot. I think he's going to have a really good season this year. At 43, Logan Allen, Cleveland Guardians. Logan Allen, there's another Guardians starting pitcher on there. And I think he's a guy that's due for a breakout this year. At 42, Reed Detmers, Los Angeles Angels. I could have put Detmers a little higher, but I feel like Detmers, he has room for improvement, a lot of improvement. But do I see it? Yes. Does it happen? Possibly. At number 41, the Ageless Wonder, Charlie Morton. Mr. Morton. I still like Charlie Morton even though he's older. At number 40, Hunter Green. If Hunter Green didn't get hurt last year, he's another guy that would have had a solid finish to his season, but he got hurt. That's why he's at number 40. And the sleeper in this portion of the rankings is Emmett Sheehan, Los Angeles Dodgers. And the bust is Yu Darvish. 39 through 30. Chris Sale is at number 39 from the Braves, formerly of the Boston Red Sox. But I like Sale. I still believe in Chris Sale. I think this is a bounce back year for Sale. I really do. I think Sale's due for a bounce back year with a better team. He struggled with Boston last year. At number 38, Merrill Kelly, Arizona Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly was consistent last year, and I think he's going to be even more consistent this year. At number 37, Nathan Eovaldi, Texas Rangers. And I feel like Eovaldi's another guy that I feel like is in store for another good season for the Rangers. At number 36 is Aaron Savali, Tampa Bay Rays. Savali had a subpar season up until he got to Tampa, and then he started to figure some things out and turn it around. And I think he's in store for a really good 2024. At number 35, Taj Bradley, Tampa Bay Rays. Now, Taj Bradley struggled as a rookie, but that was to be expected. And I feel like Taj Bradley can turn that around this year and have a really good sophomore year because the Rays are going to need to lean on him because they're going to be without Shane McClanahan for the entire 2024 season. as well as Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen till after the All-Star break. So it's going to be on the shoulders of Aaron Savali, Zach Eflin, Zach Littell, Taj Bradley, and Ryan Pepio. At number 34, and I'm probably going to get a lot of grief for this, Shane Bieber, Cleveland Guardians. I like Guardians fans, fantasy baseball fans. I'm going to explain myself. Shane Bieber is a really good pitcher, but injuries hurt him last year. If he pitched anywhere as good as he did before pre-injury, he would have been higher in the rankings going into the season this year. At number 33, Hunter Brown, Houston Astros. Rookie Hunter Brown last year for the Astros was really good. I think he's going to be even better in 2024. At number 32, Chris Bassett, Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are going to have a really good rotation this year. And I think that Chris Bassett's going to be one of the... He might fall out of the rotation eventually when Ricky Tiedemann comes up. But I think he will be just fine in rotation until they do call up Ricky Tiedemann. At number 31, Sonny Gray, St. Louis Cardinals. Sonny Gray is another one that he's an interesting case. He was with the Twins last year and pitched really good. I think he's in for another good year. And then at number 30 is Justin Steele, Chicago Cubs. I like this Cubs rotation going into 2024. As you can see, I've all of them positioned really well. And I think Justin Steele is the head honcho here in the rotation for the Cubs this year. And I think he's going to have a really good season. So my sleeper for here is Mitch Keller, Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, hear me out. I know what you're going to say. Why isn't he in the rankings? The sleeper, just because a guy that's a sleeper, that doesn't mean he's not ranked. It just means that he's a sleeper going into the season. And as the season, I switch these rankings up and put new guys in there as sleepers. And right now, Mitch Keller to me is a sleeper. And I feel like Mitch Keller can have a really good season. He should. Now, Joe Musgrove is my bust. And this one, puzzling to say the least, but I don't like where he's getting drafted in mock drafts. He's going way too high in mock drafts. At number 29, Christian. Here's my starting pitcher rankings now, 29 through 20. We've got number 29, Christian Javier. And I think Christian Javier is going to have a really good year this year. And I like the fact that he's going to have to step up because I think they did lose a pitcher to either retirement or he left and went somewhere else. But I think Christian Javier is going to have a really good year this year. At number 28 is Jordan Montgomery. He's a free agent right now, but the rumblings are that he might go back to the Rangers on a similar deal to what Cody Bellinger got for the Cubs. I like what Jordan Montgomery did last year after he got traded to Texas. He was okay in St. Louis, but he was really good when he got to the Rangers. At number 27, I know I'm going to get grief for this, Cole Reagans, Kansas City Royals. Yes, Cole Reagans. I'm really, really high on Cole Reagans this year. I'm on his hype train. I think Cole Reagans is going to have one of the best seasons for a sophomore pitcher for the Kansas City Royals. At number 26, Grayson Rodriguez, Baltimore Orioles. Now, I talked about Grayson's teammate earlier when I talked about Kyle Bradish and John Means. So I've talked about Orioles are getting a lot of love from me. I've talked about two of their pitchers already. This is the third one, and I'm going to talk about one more in a few minutes. I like Grayson Rodriguez. To me, is a younger, more polished version of what Michael Kopech should be, but Michael Kopech is not in my rankings. At number 25, Max Fried, Atlanta Braves. Now, here's the thing with Max Fried. Really good pitcher, but the only problem I have with Mr. Fried is that he doesn't necessarily move the needle for me because I don't see the effort level there from Mr. Fried. But I think Mr. Max Fried is going to have a really good 2024 season. At number 24, Fried was at 25. At 24, Jose Barrios, Toronto Blue Jays. Barrios is another guy that I think is in store for a really good 2024 season. If he can lower his walk rate, that's the one problem that I've noticed with him, is he walks a lot of batters. At number 23, Jesus Luzardo, Miami Marlins. Luzardo's a guy that I could get behind drafting early on in your draft, in like the 4th or 5th round, if you want to get the jump on starting pitching. Because the big boys are going to go early on in like the 2nd, 3rd round. That's going to be Burns, Snell, Garrett Cole, Ohtani, even though Ohtani's not going to pitch this year, Yamamoto. All those guys are going to go early on in your draft. But Luzardo's a guy that I would take 6th, 7th, maybe 5th round if you feel the need to pull the trigger that early on a pitcher. At number 22, Eduardo Rodriguez, Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, we didn't see much of Eduardo Rodriguez as a Tiger, but I feel like if we got more of Eduardo Rodriguez as a Tiger, he would have been higher going into 2024. And not only my rankings, but probably everybody else's. And that's where I would have felt more comfortable putting him in my rankings, is outside the top 20 and the top 15. If he pitched more for the Tigers, but he didn't. And at number 21, Joe Ryan, Minnesota Twins. Now, Joe Ryan's a really interesting case here. He's a really good pitcher, and I was juggling with putting him inside the top 20, but he's at 21, which isn't a bad second place. I like Joe Ryan. He has the strikeout upside. And if you play in a league that grants that you get points for striking out guys, I would take him at the first opportunity I get, because I know somebody's going to jump up, and if they see Joe Ryan on the board and they've already taken 2 starting pitchers, they're going to take Joe Ryan. because they don't want anybody else in the league getting Joe Ryan. At number 20, Justin Verlander, Houston Astros. Now, Astros fans, I know I got grief from you when I did my top 30 outfield rankings before the second half of last season for having Kyle Tucker at number 29. Is this better, having Verlander inside the top 20 and having Hunter Brown inside the top 40, 50? Please let me know down below in the comments, because I know you're going to disagree with me and think he should be higher. And the sleepers in this section are Tariq. The sleeper in this section is Tariq Skubal, Detroit Tigers. The Tigers have a really, really young rotation with Matt Manning, Tariq Skubal, Casey Mize, Jackson Jobe whenever he comes, Kenta Maeda, who's older. But out of that bunch, I like Tariq Skubal to have a breakout season. That's why he's my sleeper. My bust pitcher in this category is Lucas Giolito, Boston Red Sox. Now, hear me out. Giolito, good pitcher, but I don't know if I could trust him to stay healthy the whole season and have an ERA under 5. Number 19, Logan Gilbert, Seattle Mariners. Now, Logan Gilbert, I absolutely love a lot. Like, I like him as a pitcher, but he needs to be more consistent. He was a rookie last year. He had a good spurts as a rookie, but he struggled at times as well. But I think he can be a really good top of the line guy for your starting rotation of fantasy baseball. At number 18, Blake Snell. Now, if Blake Snell had a team, he'd be higher in the rankings. He'd probably be inside the top 9. But he doesn't have a team. He's still unemployed. But whoever gets Blake Snell is getting a 2-time Cy Young winner. At number 17, Marcus Stroman, New York Yankees. Now, with Marcus Stroman, really good pitcher. I actually like the pickup for the Yankees. They needed starting pitching. But I think that's going to benefit some of the other guys, because it's going to take the load off of a Nestor Cortez, a Clark Schmidt, Garrett Cole. It's going to kind of take the load off of them a little bit, and I think they will also have better seasons. But yes, I know you see Nestor Cortez over there. I will explain why in a minute. But I like the pickup of Marcus Stroman, and I think I'd like him in the later rounds of my fantasy baseball draft. If he's there past the 10th round, go ahead and take him. At number 16, Freddie Peralta, Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta is another guy he's a really, really good pitcher, and I absolutely love where he is in the rankings right now. I think he can move up even if he starts up the regular season really good. At number 15, Logan Webb, San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb is another guy that's I was really impressed with him last year. And I enjoyed watching him because I watched every MLB team in their games. Logan Webb is the guy that I wouldn't be afraid to take as my ace of my fantasy baseball pitching staff. At number 14, Tyler Glasnow, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, here's the thing with Glasnow. Can he stay healthy for a full season? Entire season, can he stay healthy? I think he can. I think he can stay healthy for an entire season. Under one condition, when I have put him inside my top 10, if he was healthy the entire season last year. At number 13, Zach Eflin, Tampa Bay Rays. Eflin was a valiant surprise for me last year for the Rays. I expected him to be good when they signed him, but not as good as he was. And I think he's going to be even better in year 2 as a Ray. That is why he's at number 12. At number 11, George Kirby, Seattle Mariners. Kirby was a rookie last year. No. Yes, he was. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Was George Kirby a rookie last year? Because if he was, he had a really good rookie season. If he was a sophomore, he had a really good sophomore season. I think he's due for a massive uptick in fantasy production in 2024. Because they did get rid of Marco Gonzalez. Marco Gonzalez is no longer in Seattle. At number 11 is Yoshitomo Yamamoto, Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers gave him a lot of pesos, a lot of money to come over and pitch in America for the Dodgers. And I like Yamamoto a lot. He comes from the same team I believe that Ohtani was on. So that leads me to believe that we know how good Ohtani is. Is Yamamoto going to be the same thing? At number 10, Dylan Cease, Chicago White Sox. And this is pending if he gets traded and goes to a different team. Obviously, that team that he's going to be on, right now it's the White Sox, but if he gets traded, it will be whatever team trades for him. But I like Cease a lot. His issue is walks again. And you've heard me say that a lot today. He walks a lot of batters. And my sleeper in this section is Bailey Ober, Minnesota Twins. Really good season out of Bailey Ober last year. And I think he could have a massive uptick in value this year. And my bust over here is Nestor Cortez. And listen, just hear me out. I know it hurts Yankee fans. He's not ranked in my rankings. But Nestor Cortez, great pitcher. Injuries. That's the issue I have with Mr. Cortez, is his injuries. Injury history. He missed a couple weeks of the season last year. But, like I said earlier, I've said it 2 times now. This is the 3rd time. These rankings get updated when the season starts weekly. And you will see them when I do my fantasy baseball advice weekend recap videos. They will be updated every week. Okay. So now we're in the top 10. The top 9. At number 9, Framber Valdez. Houston Astros. Valdez is a guy he's one I would feel really good with him being my number 1 pitcher in fantasy baseball. And I feel like the Astros, if they don't give him a long-term contract when his contract is up, then they're missing out. And I feel like that's not fair to him. But again, I'm not the one that makes the decisions. If I was, I would have given him a contract extension already. At number 8, Corbin Burnes, Baltimore Orioles. When I saw this trade go through, I was surprised. I knew the Orioles were going to spend money, but I didn't expect it to be via the trade market and going out and getting Corbin Burnes. Now, hear me out. I would love Corbin Burnes as my number 1 pitcher on my fantasy baseball team. I would. At number 7, Pablo Lopez, Minnesota Twins. Now, with Nola, I don't know what my stance is on Nola. Did I say anything about? Oh, yes, I did say stuff about Pablo Lopez. Okay, so Aaron Nola, really good year out of Nola last year. I think he's due to have another good year this year, and he's another guy I'd feel 9, 8, and 7. The tops, these 9, 8, 7, 6. These guys, I would feel really good with them being my number 1 or number 2 pitcher for fantasy baseball. At number 5 is another guy I feel really comfortable with as one of my starting pitchers for fantasy baseball, and that would be Luis Castillo, Seattle Mariners. Castillo entices me a lot. He doesn't walk a lot of batters, and he throws a lot of strikes. At number 4, Kevin Gausman, Toronto Blue Jays. This is the third Blue Jay I've talked about. Well, fifth actually. I talked about Gausman. I talked about Bassett. I talked about Barrios. I talked about Ricky Tiedemann, who's not on the Blue Jays yet. So this is number 5. The Blue Jays are another team that are getting a whole lot of love from me today. But Gausman is another guy that I wouldn't mind taking as my second. I'm not going to say top 2. If you get him as your second starting pitcher in fantasy baseball, I think you're good. I think you're golden. Number 3, Zach Wheeler, Philadelphia Phillies. Second Phillies pitcher I've talked about. Zach Wheeler is a guy I absolutely would love to have on my fantasy baseball team. He's a really, really good pitcher, and I think he's going to have a big season this year. At number 2, I know this is going to be controversial. Garrett Cole, New York Yankees. He's getting a little bit older. I still like him as a top 2 starting pitcher in fantasy baseball. And at number 1, Spencer. Obviously, it's Spencer Strider. Broke 100 strikeouts in 50 and under 100 games last year. And he is a guy I would take number 1 overall in fantasy baseball over guys like Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Christian Yelich. If you're out of your mind and you take an outfielder number 1. But I really like Spencer Strider. And my sleepers, since this is the last portion of the rankings, you get 3 sleepers. My first one is Alek Manoah, Toronto Blue Jays. And these guys are flyers at the end of your draft, except for Brian Bayo, who I'll talk about in a minute. But Manoah, it sounds like he's lost a lot of weight. I think I heard 15 to 20 pounds he's lost. He's put on muscle, and he looks like he's back to his self, that his starting pitcher that he was a year, not last year, but the year before that, so 2 years ago. He looks like that guy again. And I would be willing to take him later in your draft. My second sleeper is Brandon Pfaadt, Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, Pfaadt was a rookie last year, and he struggled a little bit. But I think he's due for a big year in Arizona this year as their number 4 starter. And my last sleeper is Brian Bayo, Boston Red Sox. Bayo had a really good year for the Red Sox last year. And I think he's going to have an even bigger year for the Red Sox this year. And my bust is Dean Kramer, Baltimore Orioles. Another Orioles pitcher. That's 3. No. Kramer, Rodriguez, Burns. Who's the last one? Means. So Burns, Means, Rodriguez, Kramer. That is 4 Baltimore Oriole pitchers I have talked about. The reason Kramer's on here is because at one point last year, he struggled with walks. And that scares me about starting pitchers. And before I end this video, ladies and gentlemen, please remember, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. I know you're going to like this content. I upload daily sports content every day. And sometimes I do live streams of play-by-play of college football games, college basketball, MLB. And also, if you didn't know, I offer memberships. The memberships start at 99 cents a month. And they are really, you're really flexible. You can keep it for a whole month and cancel it. But if you don't like it within the first couple days of having it, you can cancel the membership. It won't hurt me at all. But I also offer merch, which I have some merch coming in. I will be wearing on stream. It's supposed to be here next week. I will keep you updated. And again, my apologies for this morning's show. It ended a little early, but if you saw my post on my community tab, I put the rest of my picks up there. But until the next video, this is Sports Talk Podcast signing off. Peace.